Hey everyone, Tim Schofield here. I'm really excited for this video. It's time for a dual unboxing with OnePlus's latest flagships. You have the OnePlus 8 and the OnePlus 8 Pro. Shout out to OnePlus for sending these over early as well. So you're gonna see a lot of content on both of these phones coming very soon. So be sure to click that subscribe button so you're notified when those videos go live. Not only are we gonna check out both the phones, we also have a new 30-watt wireless charger from OnePlus. This uses their Warp Charge 30, so really excited that they have 30 watts of power transmission in a wireless charger. Excited to check that out. And then, of course, in these boxes, not only the OnePlus 8 and 8 Pro, we're gonna take a look at some of the cases that come with the phones, compare the two phones as well. Let's go ahead and get started. Before we get to the 8 and 8 Pro, I want to quickly open up the new OnePlus wireless charger because then I can test it throughout the video and give you some feedback towards the end. Opening it up, with 30 watts of charging, you can go from 0 to 50% in just 30 minutes, which is crazy considering it is being charged wirelessly. Initial impressions, there is a bit of size to it, which does make sense. On the back, there is ventilation. This wireless charger will be released the same date that these two phones are, which is April 29th. And it does have a bit of a price tag on it at $69.95 to get these crazy wireless charging speeds. So let's go ahead and take the plastic off, take a closer look at the brick. So the brick isn't as big as I thought it was going to be. Here's a look at some of the text on it from OnePlus, and then a quick close-up of the charger itself. It does have a stand to it, so you can set the phone down to lay there, and then it does have the back pad to charge it on. I am curious to see how warm it's going to get. They do say that it will actually dissipate the heat, so that should not be an issue whatsoever. I will test it and let you know towards the end of the video how the OnePlus 8 Pro's wireless charging goes. All right, on to what we all came here to see. Again, these both will be available on April 29th. You can find them at OnePlus.com, Amazon.com, which is a big step for OnePlus, even in T-Mobile and Verizon stores. Now, when it comes to pricing on OnePlus.com and Amazon.com, the 8, which I have here on the left, starts at the base model at $699. So that is the OnePlus 8. And then with the 8 Pro at OnePlus.com and Amazon.com, the base model is going to be $899. So $700, $900, both have 8 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs of storage. If you do want to bump that up to the next level on either of the phones, it's an extra $100 for 12 gigs of RAM, 256 gigs of storage. I will also be doing a comparison video of these two phones, so be sure to click that subscribe button so you're notified when that goes live. That will go live very soon, actually. So let's begin with unboxing our OnePlus 8 before we get to the Pro model. Right away, it does say OnePlus. Opening this on up. Inside looks like we have some booklets. Let's go ahead and slide this out. Usually they do give us some stickers too. I kind of hope that they include that. Oh, there's a lot more goodies. Hey, look at a lot of stickers here. So a bunch of different ones depending on which ones you want to use. Here is an invitation letter and our SIM ejection tool. So I can go ahead and peel this off. If you would like to read it, feel free to. This will be in both boxes, so go ahead and pause it if you want to read it. Just a few booklets as well. Moving along, let's get to what comes in the box, including the phone. We're gonna set it to the side for just a second and take a look at our accessories. You do have your power adapter and your charging cable, USB Type A to USB Type C with OnePlus's classic red and white coloring on it. And here is that charging brick. You can take a close look at it, and there is the stats on it. This is using their Warp Charge 30 technology. Now let's take a look at the phone. Peeling it out of the plastic, we do have our Interstellar Glow coloring. So really cool, very reflective, but of course, changing colors depending on how the light hits it. Really neat looking phone. Down at the bottom does say OnePlus there. Just notice those colors and how different it looks depending on how the light hits it. OnePlus logo and our triple camera. With the triple camera system, you have a 48 megapixel main sensor. You also have a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle lens. And then with the third lens, it's actually a 2 megapixel macro lens. So you can get really close and take some pictures. Down at the bottom, SIM card slot, microphone, USB-C slot for charging, and one of the speakers. And then on the right side here is where that power button is. And then of course you have your alert slider where you can go ahead and go 3 different options where you have silent, ring, or vibrate. I'm actually a big fan of this. I'm super happy that OnePlus has really stuck with this alert slider throughout their iterations of their different phones. Up at the top, just a microphone, very small camera bump on the back of this phone. And then on the left side is where those volume rockers are. On the front, 6.55-inch 1080p AMOLED display, which you can bump up to 90 hertz. Extremely minimal bezels. There is a cutout right here for that front-facing camera. Also worth noting, there's a pre-installed screen protector, as you can kind of see with that glare on the phone. I'd recommend keeping that on and use screen protectors with the in-display fingerprint scanner that will work and are approved by OnePlus. Onto the 8 Pro from OnePlus, their true flagship device. This is going to be a very quick unboxing. Probably has similar things inside. We'll set the phone to the side for just a second. Continue on. Inside here are where the booklets are. Pretty standard, exact same with the stickers and our invitation letter. Okay, next in the box is something different. It actually comes with a case inside. It is clear. It says never settle on it, so we'll check that out in just a second. Looks like it does cover the power and volume rockers. And then exact same as the 8, our Warp Charge 30 adapter and our USB-A to USB-C cable. So the only difference with the 8 Pro is that you do get an included case as well. Onto our 8 Pro. Let's take the plastic off. Before I do so, take a look. There's some circles around here because this has wireless charging. So the 8 Pro does have wireless charging compatible with that wireless charger. So we'll test that out in just a second. Let's take this off. And this is the ultramarine blue coloring of our OnePlus 8. So again, more of a matte color as opposed to the reflective coloring of the OnePlus 8. All right, so I'm a big fan of this coloring. It doesn't look nearly as shiny in person as it does on camera, but it does say OnePlus down at the bottom, moving along our OnePlus logo. And then when it comes to that rear camera system on the OnePlus 8 Pro, you have a 48 megapixel main lens, and then you also have an 8 megapixel telephoto lens zooming up to 3x. You have an ultra-wide angle lens at 48 megapixels, which takes the main sensor from the OnePlus 7T and then uses that as the ultra-wide angle lens. So ultra-wide shots should be a lot better on this OnePlus 8 Pro. And then our final lens is a 5 megapixel color filter lens. At the bottom, SIM card slot, microphone, USB-C slot, one of the speakers. And then along the right side, again, very similar power button along with that alert slider. Again, very nice that they included that, of course, on both devices. Up at the top, just a microphone. Looks like a little indent. We'll compare the two. Left side is where those volume rockers are. Again, very minimal camera bump. And then finally, very minimal bezels. This is a 6.78-inch AMOLED display up to 1440p. And you can go all the way up to 120 hertz refresh rate. So a bit difference in the display of the 8 Pro versus the 8. And here are the two phones side by side. More of a shiny look on the 8, and the Pro model has more of a matte look to it. Now up at the top, I did notice just a little bit of a difference. The Pro has a little bit of an indent towards the top for design, and it's just flush on the 8. And here's a look at them from the front. Very similar in terms of bezel sizes. Obviously a little bit larger display on the Pro. Now I'm gonna actually skip through the startup process and only talk about anything that's noteworthy. It is prompting us to set up our in-display fingerprint scanner to unlock the phone. And of course this works with different apps. If you have a banking app, etc., you can just sign in with your fingerprint scanner. So let's go ahead and lift our finger up, set it on down. It's asking for some edge input. So we'll continue through this process. It doesn't really matter to me how long this really takes. I'll do this all day as long as it works consistently and is accurate. Fingerprint added, we can add another if we want to. I'm gonna continue along. There are a couple different font options right out of the box, so Roboto or the OnePlus Slate. So there's two options there if you want to switch between the two. I'm gonna stick to Roboto. Now also, navigation bar and gestures. So you can have the gestures or you can have the buttons if you want recent home and back buttons. I'd much prefer the gestures overall. Pretty standard to how the gestures have always been, left or right side to go back, swipe up to go home, and swipe up and pause to actually go back to recent. So there is going back, swipe up to go home, and then swipe up and pause to get to our recents. Well done, very easy. Setup is complete. Let's go ahead and hit start. Should take us to our home screen. Now I did connect to Wi-Fi, however, I didn't sign into any of my accounts. So real quick out of the box, 9% used. So 24 gigs is used out of that 256 gigs. On the home screen, I'm already noticing the phone is really smooth. So they definitely have a higher refresh rate on both the phones. So let's go ahead and check that out. First of all, on the Pro. So we're gonna go into display, go into advanced, and it's a little bit different on both, so I kind of want to go in detail on them. So 128 hertz refresh rate or 60 hertz. So you have an option between the two. At the moment, you are on 1080p, 2376 by 1080, or you can bump it up to 1440p. So let's go ahead and switch to that. So now you are in 1440p. So you have to go in and do that if you want to take advantage of that resolution out of the box. But look at that. Still has 120 hertz. So you have 1440p with 120 hertz. You can go back and forth between the two. So it's kind of up to you how you want to do it. Obviously, if you use 1440p, 120 hertz, it'll drain battery a little bit more. I will be doing my testing throughout time with this. And then just a little bit different on the 8 with advanced settings. So you'll see here, you can't actually switch the resolution, so it is full HD plus again, so 1080p, but here is the refresh rate. You can go with 60 hertz or 90 hertz, so not all the way up to 120 hertz. That's where the little bit of a difference is between the refresh rate and the resolution of the phones. Clock just changed to 150. We're at 63% battery. Let's go ahead and throw the OnePlus 8 Pro on our wireless charge. As you can see, 63% with warp charge. I'm gonna leave it on there. Let's talk more about the features on these phones. Before we get into the features, I am noticing a very subtle fan noise coming out of the wireless charger. You pretty much have to have a fan in something like that if it's going to transmit that much power to handle the heat. All right, let's hop into the camera on our OnePlus 8. So jumping into it, like I said, just the standard angle lens. We could take some shots. It does have that ultra wide angle lens as well. And then one more, being the macro lens. Here's a bunch of different modes: pro, nightscape, portrait, video, slow-mo, panorama, and time-lapse. And then if you do want to use that macro lens, up at the top here, there's a super macro button. So then you can get really close to something. So this is almost touching the camera lens right here, and it's just really close. I think macro shots are a lot of fun to go outside and try, so hopefully we can go ahead and do that very soon. So as you could tell, taking that shot got really close to this fake plant. Testing out that fingerprint scanner, let's go ahead and set our thumb down. That was very quick, felt accurate again. And then one more, if you tap the screen, it will bring up the option and then you can set your finger down. So it seems very quick, very accurate as I expected. These phones do run the latest version of Android, and OnePlus has done a good job in the past at pushing out updates quickly as Android gets updated, but they do have their skin on top of it called Oxygen OS, which I have always been a big fan of. So in settings, button and gestures, there are quick gestures, whether you want to flip to mute, 3-finger screenshot, you can turn on double tap to wake, or there's different controls as well. So while the screen is off, you can have it draw, you can draw different letters and have it do different things. So let's say we wanted to open the camera or turn on and off the flashlight, one that I always do. Let's go ahead and test that real quick. So just type a V. Boom, our flashlight is on, type a V, and it's off. So some nice, useful features built into Oxygen OS. While our phone is still charging, let's check out some of the OnePlus 8 cases. We have our cyan sandstone and a nylon black. And just a quick side-by-side look at the two. The sandstone does have some texture to it, and so does the nylon. They're a little bit different. This is more of a sandpapery texture. It's not gonna hurt by any means. It just gives you some added grip. And here's just a close look at that nylon. And here's a look at the case on the phone. The buttons are all covered up. However, the alert slider is still open. Thankfully, there's a lot of texture to the slider, so it's still pretty easy to actually grab onto and switch. And then, of course, just a look at the back with the cutouts for the camera, covered up buttons, and cutouts look good on the bottom and the top. Exact same style case with the nylon, just, of course, a different back and a different color look to the phone. All right, so it's been 15 minutes, just a quick little test. Obviously it was at 63%. Let's grab our phone and go ahead and turn it on. There's a little warmth to the back of the phone. I wouldn't say hot by any means, but there is a little heat right here where that coil is, which makes total sense. Of course, there's a lot of power going through. And then up at the top here, 88%, so pretty crazy, 63 to 88% in just 15 minutes wirelessly. Let's feel the charger. Not even, like, the back of it now is kind of cold, actually, where the fan outputs, and then the front of it is, there's a tiny bit of warmth. The phone itself was a little bit warmer, but again, no issue whatsoever. Pretty happy with this wireless charger. More testing to come, of course, in the full review. A couple of cases for the 8 Pro, the same cyan sandstone that you have already seen. And this one's a little bit different. This is just a carbon look to it. Here's a look at the phone with the carbon case on. Again, same cutouts, power button and volumes are covered, but again, with the texture on the alert slider, not an issue changing it. and a little bit of an extra cutout for that extra lens on the back. And speaking of that camera, let's jump into the camera app and maybe just snap a picture here, snap a picture there. Again, you do have that ultra wide angle lens and the telephoto lens, which will quickly swap to 3x if we want to take a picture of that OnePlus 8. Whoops, I accidentally hit deny there. Allow. There it is in 3x zoom. And overall, that is it for now. That is my dual unboxing of the OnePlus 8 and OnePlus 8 Pro. Really excited to share my experience with this. Be sure to click that subscribe button. Comparison coming soon. Full reviews coming soon. So stay tuned for that. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you liked it. And as always, guys, thank you very much for watching.